hence the many our acharyas, they take shelter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Especially Srila Sanatana Goswami, he compiled one stava which is called as glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam. There he glorifies Srimad Bhagavatam in 8 verses. In one of the verse he says, Madeka Bandhu, Mat Sangin, Mad Guno, Man Mahadana, Man Nistaraka, Mad Bhagya, Madhanandam Namostute, which means Madeka Bandhu. Srimad Bhagavatam is the only my relative. Madeka Bandhu, Mat Sangin. Srimad Bhagavatam is the only companion. Madeka Bandhu, Mat Singin, Mad Guno, Man Mahadana. And this is the greatest treasure I have. And Man Nistaraka Mad Bhagya. This is my greatest fortune. And this is the most blissful thing. And unto that Srimad Bhagavatam, Sanatan Goswami is offering his respectful obeisances. So such is the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. And thank you for joining and for this detailed study of Srimad Bhagavatam on weekly basis. And now we are in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 9. So this chapter entitled is Passing Away of Lord Bhishma Deva. So far we have seen, after the Bhagavat, after Mahabharat war, so, Pandavas, they feel very morose, especially the Yudhishthira Maharaj, because he has killed so many warriors, right? They have destroyed Kauravas and they have killed so many people, and that become the little concern of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Because of him, they got to kill so many people, and he is blaming himself. There is a one good quality of a Vaishnava, and Vaishnava is Paradukha Dukhi. He always others, concerned about others. So though the mistake was from from Duryodhana, but Yudhishthira Maharaj is blaming himself for all these calamities happened during this Mahabharat war. So a Lord, try to pacify him, but at the same time, Lord also wants to show him, give him the instruction from the great authorities. As we know, Bhishma Deva, there are 12 Mahajanas. Mahajana means they are the authority on the Vedic scriptures. So most probably you have discussed in the previous session. So they are, who are there? Swayambhu, Narada, Shambho, Kapilo, Kumaro, Manu, Janaka, Prahlada, Janako, Bhishma, Vaiyasakir, Vayam. Swayambhu, that is Brahma, Narada, and Shambhu, Kumara, the 4 Kumaras, Kapila Muni, Manu, and Prahlada, then Janaka, and Bhishma, Bali, and Vaiyasaki. These are the great authorities, and Yamdharmaraj. These are the 12 Mahajanas who knows this religion upside down. So Lord Krishna wanted Yudhishthira to get the teachings from one of the Mahajana, which is Bhishma Dev. And also other reason why Lord wanted Pandavas to go and meet Bhishma Dev. As you know, Bhishma Dev, after the war, he is laying down on the bed of arrows, and it is very troublesome. You can imagine, if one pin pricks us, how much pain it gives. But he is laying on the bed of arrows with so much painful condition. But so in that condition, he is laying there in the war field. Then Krishna wants Pandavas to go there. So Krishna instructs them to because by then the Yudhishthira Maharaj is already coronated. He become the emperor, and so they all dressed very nicely as the king and and emperor, they all go to the battlefield to see Bhishma Dev, and Bhishma Dev is very happy to receive them. So then you have seen how he received them. So there are like time, place, circumstances. We can invite the guest, which Bhishma Dev follows that etiquette. Then seeing opulent kings Yudhishthir, Bhishmadev is very happy. And then he recalls all the history of Pandavas. The Pandavas suffered terribly. So right from their childhood, they were always humiliated, and they were always troubled by Duryodhana, and from Duryodhana's side. So Bhishmadev is recalling all these things. Then finally, Bhishma Dev, Krishna also wanted Yudhishthir Maharaj to learn, how to rule the world from Bhishma Dev, because Bhishma Dev is one of the authority. Then Bhishma Dev gives him instruction on various ashramas, like Varnashrama Dharma, then Varnashrama Dharma, then Vairagya Dharma, Ragha Dharma, then Raj Dharma, then finally he also talks about Bhagavat Dharma, because it's a duty of the emperors. They should know all these things. Then only they will able to rule the uh, kingdom properly. So after this, by then the Uttarayana starts. Uttarayana is the time, like year is divided into two. One is Uttarayana and other one is Dakshinayana. So Uttarayana, from that day, sun starts traveling towards north. So which incidentally falls every year on 14th of January. Sometimes it comes on 15th of January. It is also known as Makara Sankranti or Makara Sankramana. Sankramana is the word used in Sanskrit when the sun enters one particular Rashi. So that day it is called as Sankramana. In this particular case, it is called as Makara Sankramana. Means the sun enters Makara Rashi, that is Capricorn. So then, like like Bhishma Dev had a benediction that he will, he's Ichamarani. He can die whenever he wish. He is focusing, and what a great fortune he has got. The Lord is standing right in front of him. So he wants to focus his mind on the Lord. Then he want to give up his body. So this is so far what we had discussed. Quickly, like maybe Sushil Prabhu or Rao Uday, you can in few sentences, can you describe what you discussed in the last class?
We started from 1925. In 1925, the Sut Goswami started telling that now Bhagwan Krishna is inspiring Lord Yudhishthir, that King Yudhishthir, to ask various things from the Bhishma Dev before dying. So even in that pain, Krishna wanted to ask Bhishma, because Lord devotees are always very sound in mind and due to their spiritual enlightenment. Then in 26 we had there was whole description of the four castes and four orders of life, that is all Varnashram Dharma, in very detail. Then in 27 we the Bhishma Dev explains the duties of the king and activities for the self realization. That is how the king has to rule and what he has to do, and what are there are other details about the one ashram dharma also. In 28 the Bhishma described various examples of all these, and in 29, while Bhishma was telling all this, the sun entered the Uttar Narayan. And in 30 the Bhishma, they started preparing and for dying. And in 31, the way Bhishma was preparing for this, and he started meditating on the Lord. That was what we discussed last time.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. So you have covered all the points very nicely. And now we enter into the next section. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam is full of stutis. Okay, but this is also one of the important verses, from verses 32 to 42. It is called as Bhishma Stuti. Like earlier in the 8th chapter, we have seen Kunti Stuti. Means Kunti is praying to the Lord, and now here Bhishma is praying to the Lord. This is one of the potent prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam. Like this, we have more than 30 40 stutis sung by various devotees. Okay, now let's get into the today's verse. Today we'll cover from 32 to 37. There are 5 verses we'll cover, and the link is now the even the Bhishmadev he has instructed Pandavas in various aspects of how to rule the country. Then the Uttarayana started. It is for time for him to fix his mind on the Lord. So then he started meditating. Then now, since the perfection of the perfection of devotee is Antye Narayana Smriti. It is not that how much opulence we hold, or how much degrees we hold, or how intelligent we are. All these things will not count. The only the count is Antye Narayana Smriti. How can we fix our mind on the Lord? Because you have seen in Bhagavad Gita 8.5 and 8.6, what Lord says, Antakale Chamameva, he says, at the time of death, whatever we think, we get that. At the same time, in the next verse, he says, Yam Yam Vapi Smaran Bhavam, Tejat Kente Kalevaram. So, in whatever the state of mind we leave our body, that body we get. So, here, Bhishma Dev, he's so fortunate, the Lord, his worshipable Lord, Sri Krishna, is present right in front of him. So now it's a great opportunity for him to fix his mind on the Lord, and he can give up his body. And now he is laying on his you know uh, bed of arrows, and he doesn't have anything to give for him to the Lord, but certainly he can give gift from his thoughts. In that way, now he is going to offer his prayers. Okay, we will see verse number 32. So, Prabhu, will you share Bhagavatam with Abis?
Prabhu, Prabhu, 1 minute.
Or I can share, no problem.
Okay, I'll make you co-host. 1 moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah. You can see the screen, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu, we can.
Yeah. Okay. Let's start from here. These are all worth memorizing shlokas, these 10 shlokas. Okay. We'll chant. Shri Bhishma Uvacha Iti Matirupakalpita Vitrishnam Bhagavati Satvata Pungave Vibhumni Swasukam Upagate Kvachid Vihartum Prakritim Upayeshi Yadbhaya Yadbhava Pravaha. Can somebody read the translation, Prabhu?
Sure, Prabhu. I said, let me now invest my thinking, feeling, and will, which were so long engaged in different subjects, in the theoretical law, is always satisfied by.
Now, Prabhu, can we a little louder?
Sure, Prabhu. In different subjects and occupational duties. He is always self-satisfied, but sometimes being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending to the material world. Only the material world is created. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So here Bhishmadev is praying to the Lord, let me invest my thinking, feeling and willing. So which were so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties. Okay, so because we know like Bhishmadev, he is the protector of Kuru dynasty. So he has to do so many administrative work, and his thoughts are always filled with so many administrative work. He didn't had an opportunity to focus on the Lord, but now it is for time for him to focus, to fix his mind on the Lord. So he is fixing it. And in this section, there are wonderful puppets. Let's not skip this puppet. It's worth reading. So let's read together. Yes, someone can read puppet also, Prabhu.
Because Bhishma Deva was a statesman, the head of the Kuru dynasty, a great general and a leader of Kshatriya, his mind was strewn over so many subjects, and his thinking, feeling, and willing were engaged in different matters. Now, in order to achieve pure devotional service, he wanted to invest all powers of thinking, feeling, and willing entirely in the Supreme Being, Lord Krishna. He is described herein as the leader of the devotees and all powerful. Although Lord Krishna is the virginal personality of Godhead, he himself descends to earth bestow upon his pure devotees the boon of devotional service. He descends sometimes as Lord Krishna, as is, and sometimes as Lord Chaitanya. Both are leaders of the pure devotees. Pure devotees of the Lord have no desire other than the service of the Lord, and therefore they are called Satvata. The Lord is the chief amongst all such Sattvatas. Bhishma Deva therefore had no other desires. Unless one is purified from all sorts of material desires, the Lord does not become one's leader. Desires cannot be wiped out, but they have only to be purified. It is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 10.10 by the Lord himself that he gives his instruction from within the heart of a pure devotee who is constantly engaged in the service of the Lord. Such instruction is given not for any material purpose, but only for going back home, back to Godhead. For the ordinary man who wants to lord it over material nature, the Lord only sanctions and becomes a witness of activities, but he never gives the non-devotee instructions for going back to Godhead. That is the difference in dealings by the Lord with different living beings, both the devotee and the non-devotee. He is leader of all living beings as the king of the state rules both the prisoners and the free citizens. But his dealings are different in terms of devotee and non-devotee. Non-devotees never care to take any instruction from the Lord, and therefore the Lord is silent in their case. Although he witnesses all their activities and awards them the necessary results, good or bad. The devotees are above this material goodness and badness. They are progressive on the path of transcendence, and therefore they have no desire for anything material. The devotee also knows Sri Krishna as the virginal Narayana because of Lord Sri Krishna. By his plenary portion, appears as the Karnodakshaya Sai Vishnu, the virginal source of all material creation. The Lord also desires the association of his pure devotees, and for them only the Lord descends to the earth and enlivens them. The Lord appears out of his own will. He is not forced by the conditions of material nature. He is therefore described here as the Vibhu, all are the Almighty, and is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. So in this verse, Bhishmadev is praying to the Lord. Iti mati upakalpita vitrishna. Let me focus my mind on Lord Krishna. Bhagavati satvata pungave vibhumni. So satvata. So the word, Prabhupada is explaining very nicely who is satvata. in Satvata means the devotees. The devotees who have dedicated their life and who don't have any material desires, they are called as Sattvatam. And the Lord is called as Sattvatam Pati, means he is the protector of such devotees. So then our Lord is also known as Vibhu. Vibhu means he is, there is no one controls him. He is the supreme controller. So, and he is, there is no one who is equal to him or no one who is above him. And unto that person, uh, and that person, why he descends on this earth? Just to give pleasure to his devotees. Another reason is to take them back home, back to Godhead. That's the main purpose of why the Lord is descending on this earth. And he comes out of his own sweet will. So in Bhagavad Gita in 4th chapter he says, no, Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. So we all take birth. We are forced to take birth because of our reactions. But in case of Lord, it's not so. He comes out of his own sweet will to reciprocate with his devotees. He takes incarnation. And Bhishmadev wants to focus his mind on the Lord, on such Lord. And because the mind has got uh, mind has got two work to do. One is sankalpa and one vikalpa. One is accept the thing and rejects the thing. And also, what does the mind do? It is always thinking, willing, feeling. These are the activities of mind. And now Bhishmadev, being in his final stage of life, he wants to focus all these things, that is feeling, willing, and thinking on the Lord, so that he can fix his mind. So he is praying to the Lord. And in Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada also writes, Krishna comes in various forms, and we are fortunate in our time, the Lord has descended as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is much more merciful than Krishna, and his only purpose of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come is to give chanting of the holy name. Simply by chanting of the holy name, so we all can easily go back home, back to Godhead. So we are all fortunate. So that is a one point, the Lord, Bhishma Devi is mentioning here. So we'll move to the next verse. Verse number 33. त्रिभुवनकमनं तमालवर्णं रविकरगौरवराम्बरं दधाने वपुरलकाकुलवृताननाब्जं विजयसखेरतिरस्तु मे अन्वद्या.
Shri Krishna is the intimate friend of Arjuna. He has appeared on this earth in his transcendental body, which resembles the bluish color of the tamal tree. His body attracts everyone in the three planetary systems, upper, middle, and lower. May his glittering yellow dress and his lotus face, covered with paintings of sandalwood pulp, be the object of my attraction, and may I not desire fruitive results. When Sri Krishna, by his own internal pleasure, appears on earth, he does so by the agency of his internal potency. The attractive features of his transcendental body are desired in all the three worlds, namely the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. Nowhere in the universe are there such beautiful bodily features as those of Lord Krishna. Therefore, his transcendental body has nothing to do with anything materially created. Arjuna is described here as the conqueror, and Krishna is described as his intimate friend. Bhishma Dev on his bed of arrows after the battle of Kurukshetra is remembering the particular dress of Lord Krishna which he put on as the driver of Arjuna's chariot. While fighting was going on between Arjuna and Bhishma, Bhishma's attraction was drawn by the glittering dress of Krishna, and indirectly he admired his so-called enemy Arjuna for possessing the Lord as his friend. Arjuna was always a conqueror because the Lord was his friend. Bhishma Dev takes this opportunity to address the Lord as Vijay Sakha, friend of Arjuna, because the Lord is pleased when he is addressed con- conjointly with his devotees, who are related with him in different transcendental humors. While Krishna was the charioteer of Arjuna, sun rays glittered on the dress of the Lord, and the beautiful hue created by the reflection of such rays was never forgotten by the Vishnudev. As the great fighter, he was relishing the relation of Krishna in the chivalrous humor. Transcendental relation with the Lord in any one of the different rasas is relishable by the respective devotees in the highest ecstasy. Less intelligent mundanes who went to make a show of being transcendentally related with the Lord artificially jump at once to the relation of the conjugal love, imitating the damsels of Vrajdhama. Such a cheap relation with the Lord exhibits only the base mentality of the mundaners, because one who has relished conjugal humor with the Lord cannot be attracted to worldly conjugal rasa, which is condemned even by the mundane ethics. The eternal relation of a particular soul with the Lord is evolved. A genuine relation of the living being with the Supreme Lord can take any form out of the five principal rasas, and it does not make any difference in transcendental degree to the genuine devotee. Bhishmadev is a concrete example of this, and it should be carefully observed how and the great general is transcendently related with the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hmm? So, Tribhuvana Kamanam Tamala Varnam. So, Krishna's color is Tamala Varna. Tamala Varna means bluish, there is a tree called as Kamala tree, which resembles Krishna. In Vrindavan also, when you go for parikrama, there is one Tamala tree which is standing, from more than Krishna's time. It is said it's still there. So Tribhuvana Kamal Tamala Varnam Ravikara Gaura Varambaram Dadhame, and Krishna is wearing yellow garment, and he is a yellow means golden garment he is wearing, and even that is Vara Ambaram. It's glittering actually. Like a yellow silk cloth. What happens? It gives the glitter. So it is glittering, and he is what? He is Vijaya Sakhe. Vijaya Sakhe is another name for Vijaya is Arjuna's name, and Krishna is addressed as Vijaya Sakhe, means friend of Arjuna. So the Lord is always happy when you address him with his friends or with his mother or father. That's the reason Krishna has got so many names like Yashoda Nandan, then Devaki Nandan, Nanda Nandan. So Partha Sarathi. Here he is called as Vijaya Sakhe. So Vijaya Sakhe means friend of Arjun. So because why Arjun is known as Vijaya means wherever he goes he wins. That's the reason his name is become Vijaya, and Krishna is his friend. And what else Krishna is doing? He is having Alaka Kula Avrata. He is covered with the sandalwood paste, and his face is like a lotus. And unto that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhishmadev wants to focus his mind. And in the purport, Prabhupada mentions a few, when he talks about Vijaya Sakhe, who is friend of Arjuna. Then, so, and also Prabhupada, like here, the uh, the relationship between Bhishma and Lord Krishna is on rivalry. There are 12 rasas, out of which 5 rasas are main rasa and another 7 rasas are secondary rasa. The 5 rasa you all know: Shanta, Dasya, Vatsa, and Sakya and Madhurya. These are the primary rasa, and another 7 rasas which are called as secondary rasas. In that, one is uh, uh, chivalry. Chivalry means bibhatsya in Sanskrit is called as. So, like Krishna also wants to enjoy all these rasas. Means, like, if you want to have a wrestling match with somebody, you should have a equal opponent, right? Otherwise, it will become one-sided match. So, Krishna select particular person. So here in the battle we have seen, right, Bhishmadev, he fought with Krishna, and even to the certain extent he injured Krishna also, that we are going to see in the upcoming verses. And in that, but Krishna is enjoying. Why Krishna enjoys all this, that also is given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the upcoming verses. In the coming verses we will see that. And so Prabhupada here cautions, Prabhupada always, takes this opportunity to caution us. Like people, they are very much attracted to 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam without understanding who Krishna and what is his position. They directly jump into the rasa discussion, which is described in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, which is the highest rasa. Of course, in this material world, that is not, it's not so much considered as a good, but in spiritual world, that is the highest raka, that is parakiya rasa. So, we are not supposed to enter that until unless we know the position of the Lord. Otherwise, we will not get the clear understanding. So, no, we, like you can reciprocate with Lord in any rasa. Not only, it is you should reciprocate only with Madhurya. No. So that's the example here. Prabhupada is highlighting, like Bhishmadev, his reciprocation with the Lord is on the level of chivalry, that is vibhatsya. So there's the one word of caution we get from this purport. So then we'll move on to the next verse. 24. Dudituragarajo vidumbra vishvak kuchalulitaashramāvari alankritasye mama nishita sharair vibidhyamanam tvati vilasat kavache astu Krishna atma. Yeah, who wants to read?
I'm reading, Prabhu.
Yeah.
On the battlefield where Sri Krishna attended Arjuna out of friendship, the following hair of Lord Krishna turned ashes due to the dust raised by the hoofs of the horses. And because of his labor, beads of sweat wetted his face. All these decorations, intensified by the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows, were enjoyed by him. Let my mind thus go on to Sri Krishna. Purport. The Lord is the absolute form of eternity, bliss and knowledge. As such, transcendental, loving service to the Lord is one of the 5 principal relations, namely Santa, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. That is, neutrality, savorship, fraternity, parental affection, and conjugal love is graciously accepted by the Lord when offered to the Lord in genuine love and affection. Sri Bhishmadev is a great devotee of the Lord in the relation of saviorship. Thus, his throwing of sharp arrows at the transcendental body of the Lord is as good as the worship of another devotee who throws soft roses upon him. It appears that Bhishmadev is repenting the action he committed against the person of the Lord, but factually, the Lord's body was not at all pained due to his transcendental existence. His body is not matter. Both he himself and his body are complete spiritual identity. Spirit is never pierced, burnt, dried, moistened, etc. This is vividly explained in the Bhagavad Gita. So also is stated in the Skanda Purana. It is said there that spirit is always uncontaminated and indestructible. It cannot be distressed, nor can it be dried up. When Lord Vishnu in his incarnation appears before us, he seems to be like one of the conditioned soul, materially engaged just to belittle the asuras or the non-believers who are always alert to kill the Lord, even from the very beginning of his appearance. Kamsa wanted to kill Krishna and Ravana wanted to kill Rama because foolishly they were unaware of the fact that the Lord is never killed, from the spirit is never annihilated. Therefore, Bhishma Dev's piercing of the Lord Krishna is a sort of bewildering problem for the non-devotee atheists. But those who are devotees are liberated souls are not beloved. Bhishma Dev appreciated the all-merciful attitude of the Lord because he did not leave Arjuna alone. Although he was disturbed by the sharpened arrows of Bhishmadev, nor was he reluctant to come before Bhishma's deathbed. Even though he was ill-treated by him on the battlefield, Bhishma's repentance and the Lord's merciful attitude are both unique in this picture. Sri Vishwantha Chakravarti Thakura, a great acharya and devotee in the humor of congenial love with Lord, remarks very silently in this regard. He says that the wounds created on the body of the Lord by the sharpened arrows of Bhishmadev were as pleasing to the Lord as the biting of a fiancé who bites the Lord's body directed by a strong sense of sex desire. Such biting by the opposite sex is never taken as a sign of enmity, even if there is a wound on the body. Therefore, the fighting as an exchange of transcendental pleasure between the Lord and his pure devotee, Sri Bhishmadev, was not at all mundane. Besides that, since the Lord's body and the Lord are identical, there was no possibility of wounds in the absolute body. The apparent wounds caused by the sharpened arrows are misleading to the common man, but one who has a little absolute knowledge can understand the transcendental exchange in the chivalrous relation. The Lord was perfectly happy with the wounds caused by the sharpened arrows of Bhishmadev. The word Vividyamana is significant because the Lord's skin is not different from the Lord. Because our skin is different from our soul, in our case, the word Vividyamana, or being bruised and cut, would have been quite suitable. Transcendental bliss is of different varieties, and the variety of activities in the mundane world is but a perverted relation of transcendental bliss. Because everything in the mundane world is qualitatively mundane, it is full of inebrities, whereas in the absolute realm, because everything is of the same absolute nature, there are varieties of enjoyment without impurity. The Lord enjoyed the wound created by his great devotee Bhishmadev, and because Bhishmadev is a devotee, in the chivalrous relation, he fixes up his mind on Krishna and Krishna in that wounded condition. Jai.
Thank you, Uday Prabhu. So, such a wonderful purport here. So, in this verse, he is Bhishma Devi is recalling a scene from the war where he is fighting against the Lord. Like Lord, his hairs are flowing. Because of the wind. It is flying actually. Then like because of the dust, his hairs all turned into ashen, means like it's ash color. And in other words, all his hairs are dusted. And and because of the hard work, he is riding the chariot. And because of that, there's a beads of perspiration on his head. And this is a wonderful scene which Bhishma Dev is recalling. And in the purport also, Prabhupada mentions beautiful points. He talks about 5 rasas which we discussed. Shanta means neutrality. Dasya means servitorship. Means Sakya is friendship. Then Vatsalya is parental affection. And conjugal is Madhurya Leela. Madhurya means conjugal. These are the 5 main rasas. And Bhishma Deva is also a great devotee. Like he also chivalrous and also in servitorship. So servitorship means like he is in Dasya Rasa. Means he is praying to the Lord in Dasya Rasa. And though Bhishma Dev, he shooted arrows to the Lord, but that will not be considered by the Lord as an offense. Instead, the Lord is considering the sharp arrows of Bhishma Dev as good as a devotee is offering rose petals on the Lord's body. So that is the beauty of these acharyas. Like when we offer the flowers to the Lord, so similarly when the Bhishma Dev is shooting a arrow to the Lord, and that will be considered by the Lord as a soft roses. And also further, and Lord body is Sachidananda Vigraha. His body is not like us. So he is Satchit Anand. He is eternal, and he is full of knowledge, and he is full of bliss. That is Lord's body. So ours is not like our material body like that. So whenever we have though the arrows of Bhishma Dev, it did not hurt Lord. It did not cause any wounds on his body. Externally, though it is appearing, but it didn't cause any pain to the Lord. Here, in Bhagavad Gita, we have seen, right? The soul can never be cut into the pieces. All those things we have seen, right? So, what is that? Nacha vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya navani grihnati naro. No, nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, nainam kledayantyapo, na shoshayati marutaha, nainam chindanti shastrani. The soul can be never cut in by any shastras. Nainam dahati pavakaha. It can't be burned by any fire. So nainam chintanti, nainam dahati pavaka, nainam kledayantyapo, and the water cannot wet him. So these are the signs of souls. So Lord being having such a Sachidananda body, how he will get the pain? That's the logic Prabhupada is putting here. And further, Prabhupada also talks about uh, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is a great acharya in our parampara, and he is also known as Rasika Kavi. So he analyzed Krishna's pastime in a wonderful, humorous way. So here also he beautifully he gives, like for example, though the sharp arrows of Bhishma Dev cause wounds on the body of the Lord, but that will be considered by the Lord as a fiancé biting fiance's bite, because whenever such thing happens, no, it will not cause any pain to the other sex, instead they relish. So similarly, being a Rasika Acharya, Vishwanath Chakravarti is giving this analogy for us. And also there's another important words in this verse, in this verse is Vibidhyamana. Vibidhyamana means Lord's skin is not different from the Lord. So Lord is everything is same. So it doesn't cause any bruise or cut, wound. Nothing happens to the Lord's body. So his is a Sachidananda Vigraha. So this is a one point also is mentioned this purport. So now we will move on to the next verse. Verse number 35. Sapadi saki vacho nishamya madhye nija parayor balayoratam niveshya stithavati parasainikaayorakshnam Rathavati partha sakeratir mamastu. Yeah.
Reading.
Yes.
Translation. In obedience to the command of his friend, Lord Sri Krishna entered the arena of the battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldiers of Arjuna and Duryodhana. And while there he shortened the lifespans of the opposite parts by his merciful glance. This was done simply by his looking at the enemy. Let my mind be fixed upon that Krishna. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 121 to 25, Arjuna ordered the infallible Lord Sri Krishna to place his chariot between the phalanxes of the soldiers. He asked him to stay there until he had finished observing the enemies he had to face in the battle. When the Lord was so asked, he at once did so, just like an order carrier. And the Lord pointed out all the important men on the opposite side, saying, here is Bhishma, here is Drona, and so on. The Lord, being the supreme living being, is never the order supplier of or order carrier of anyone, whoever he may be. But out of his causeless mercy and affection for his pure devotees, sometimes he carries out the order of the devotee like an awaiting servant. By executing the order of a devotee, the Lord becomes pleased, as a father pleased to carry out the order of his small child. This is possible only out of pure transcendental love between the Lord and his devotees. And Bhishmadeva was quite aware of this fact. He therefore addressed the Lord as a friend of Arjuna. The Lord diminished the duration of life of the opposite party by his merciful glance. It is said that all the fighters who assembled on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained salvation by personally seeing the Lord at the time of death. Therefore, his diminishing the duration of life of Arjuna's enemies does not mean that he was partial to the cause of Arjuna. Factually, he was he was merciful to the opposite party because they would not have attained salvation by dying at home in the ordinary course of life. Here was a chance to see the Lord at the time of death and thus attain salvation from material life. Therefore, the Lord is all good, and whatever he does is for everyone's good. Apparently, it was for the victory of Arjuna, his intimate friend, but factually it was for the good of Arjuna's enemies. Such are the transcendental activities of the Lord, and whoever understands this also gets salvation after quitting this material body. The Lord does no wrong in any circumstance because he is absolute, all good at all times.
Thank you, Mr. Rao. So this yet another important prayer from Bhishma Dev. He says, like in obedience to the command of his friend, Lord Krishna entered the arena of battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldier of Arjuna and Duryodhana. You remember from the Bhagavad Gita, right? Arjuna orders Krishna. Krishna, please place the chariot. I want to see who are all there. He says, no. Senayorubayor madhye ratam sthapamechuta yavadeta niriksheham yodyamanan avastitam. He says, Arjuna, I want to see who all gathered here to fight against me. And Krishna, very obediently he takes the chariot and he places in such a strategic point where he can see all the both the sides. There he sees Bhishma, Drona, then all his relatives. Then like that, Lord does his tactics. And also, in the purport, the Arjuna is ordering Krishna, please take my chariot there. And Krishna is obliging, because why he is doing it? As a Bhakta Vatsala. That's the reason another name of Lord is Bhakta Vatsala. He cares for his devotees. And he is ready to do anything, any job for his devotees. Like this charioteer is such a job, like it's a driving. So of course in driving you say go left, go right, but when you're on the battlefield you don't have to say left, right, anything. Just with their left leg and and the right leg, they will be indicating on the shoulder of the soldier either to go left or right. So Lord is accepting such a menial position as a charioteer. Hmm? Who else can do all these things? Who can be more merciful than the Lord? Right? Even sometimes if some in at home also, if somebody they talk bit heavy on us, we are not able to take it. But Krishna is ready to take anything. So that is a quality of Lord Krishna. And Krishna is he's the supreme personality of Godhead. In Ishopanishad, it is stated, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. The supreme personality of Godhead is perfect, and he's complete. Oftentimes we see the Lord creation is not correct. He has created so many divisions, and he has created rich people, he has created poor people. The rich people, they keep on accumulating money, and all these things we see, right? But it is not like that. Krishna is perfectly all right. He's perfect actually, and he is complete. And because he is perfect, and all the emanations from him is also perfectly complete. And whatever is created from him is also perfect. There is no doubt about it. And his creations, there is no question why he has made like there's nothing. Whatever he has done everything perfect. We can realize ourselves. You can we can recall. We can realize some past incident, what happened. Maybe that particular time, we may feel it's very depressing or very painful. But later on, when you sit back and analyze the situation, it happened for our own good. It happens with every devotee also. And not only that, the Lord here placing his chariot in front of opposites, so that the even opponents also uh, can be elevated, can get salvation just by seeing the Lord. If you see the Lord and we leave the body, nothing like that. We'll go back home, back to Godhead. So that's the reason in Kunti Maharani also plays, no? Vipadaha Santata Shashvat Tatra Tatra Jagadguru Bhavato Darshanam Yat Syad Apunar Bhava Darshanad. He says, oh my Lord, please give me the calamities again and again. When the calamities comes, we don't have anyone to think except you. So when we think of you, you come right in front of us, and when we see you, uh, there is no repeated birth and death. So whoever take the darshan of the Lord, there is no repetition for them. So here Lord is merciful not only to Arjuna and Pandavas, and he is equally merciful to Kauravas, and they're also, the soldiers who are fighting the battle, they are also, getting salvation simply by having darshan of the Lord. So Bhishma Dev is appreciating this quality of the Lord. Okay, we'll move on to the next verse number 36. व्यवहितपृतनामुकं निरीक्ष्य स्वजनवदाद् विमुखस्य दोषबुद्ध्या कुमतिम् अहराद् आत्मा विदा विद्यया यस्य चरणरति परमस्य तस्य मेस्तु.
When Arjuna was seemingly polluted by ignorance upon observing the soldiers and commanders before him on the battlefield, the Lord eradicated his ignorance by delivering transcendental knowledge. May his lotus feet always remain the object of my attraction. The kings and the commanders were to stand in the front of the fighting soldiers. That was a system of actual fighting. The kings and commanders were not so called presidents or ministers of defense as they are today. They would not stay home while the poor soldiers or mercenaries were fighting face to face. This may be the regulation of modern democracy, but when actual monarchy was prevailing, the monarchs were not cowards elected without consideration of qualification. As it was evident from the battlefield of Kurukshetra, all the executive heads of both the parties, like Don, Bhishma, Arjun, and Duryodhan, were not sleeping. All of them were actual participants in the fighting, which was selected to be executed at a place away from the civil residential quarters. This means that the innocent citizens were immune from all effects of fighting between the rival royal parties. The citizens had no business in seeing what was going to happen during such fighting. They were to pay one fourth of their income to the ruler, whether he be the Arjuna or Duryodhana. All the commanders of the parties on the battlefield of the Kurukshetra were standing face to face, and Arjuna was standing face to face. Yes. And Arjuna saw them with great compassion and lamented that he was to kill his kinsmen on the battlefield for the sake of the empire. He was not at all afraid of the giant military phalanx presented by the Duryodhan, but as a merciful devotee of the Lord, renunciation of worldly things was natural for him, and thus he decided not to fight for worldly positions. But this was due to a poor fund of knowledge, and therefore it is said here that his intelligence became polluted. His intelligence could not be polluted at any time because he was a devotee and constant companion of the Lord, as is clear in the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Apparently, Arjuna's intelligence became polluted because otherwise there would not have been a chance to deliver the teachings of Bhagavad Gita for the good of all polluted and conditioned souls engaged in the material bondage by the conception of the past material body. The still left it. The Bhagavad Gita was described was conditioned souls of the world to deliver from the wrong conception of identifying the body with the soul and to re-establish the soul's eternal relation with the Supreme Lord. Atma Vidya or transcendental knowledge of himself was primarily spoken by the Lord for the benefit of all concerned in all parts of the universe.
Thank you, Sushil Prabhu. So here, Bhishma Dev is recalling, the Krishna gave the Bhagavad Gita to the Arjuna. That episode he is remembering, and he is praying to the Lord. He says, when Arjuna was seemingly polluted by ignorance, he was completely he become bewildered after seeing his kinsman. He says, I will not fight. Then he started giving all his logic. If I kill them, their family destruction will happen. When the family destruction happen, there is no person to take care of the family, and the woman in the family becomes polluted. As a result of which, she will get a Varna Sankara. Varna Sankara means unwanted populations, means without the proper father. So then when such thing happens, and there is no person to give tarpana and pinda to the forefathers, thereby forefather will also become unhappy. He started giving all this logic. He was saying in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, right? So that time the Lord gives him Bhagavad Gita and he instructs him. So by getting that knowledge, then he comes to the his senses, and he accepts finally, Lord, whatever you says, I will accept it. Karishye vachanam tava, whatever you says, I will follow that. He fights the battle. So Bhishma Dev is recalling this wonderful incident, and also Prabhupada mentions how the war used to happen in earlier days. It's not like today's, the presidents and the so-called defense minister, they are sitting in that home, and the battle is fought somewhere by bombarding the bomb and other things. It was not so. It was it was very nicely arranged with the soldiers in the front, then the commanders, then you have the king, so these are our ministers, they're all there, they all used to be in the battlefield. So such was the protocol, but today is nothing. People will, and also the war used to happen in a place which is away from the civilian area, so that the people will not be directly affected by this war. Civilians will not be affected by this war. But now it's not like that. The people will bomb on residential quarters. They kill so many innocent people. So the things have been changed now. But the traditionally and during monarchy time, it was not like that. We have seen, right? The war will happen from during the daytime, and in the evening time they are all friends. You can go to our enemy's camp and you can dine with them, you can talk with them. All these things were there. But here it now it is not like that. So, and also Prabhupada also mentions why Arjuna was put into that ignorance, because the Bhagavad Gita was to be spoken and for the upliftment of all of us. It's not that Arjuna was in ignorance, and Lord created such a circumstances for Arjuna so that he became ignorant. So in that context, he preached, he has given this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So because of which the whole humanity, even after spoken 5,000 years ago, still we are following this, and still we are getting real knowledge from this book, and we can make our life successful, and we can lead a peaceful life just by following this great scripture, which is Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So it is also known as Atma Vidya, the transcendental knowledge for the self. So Bhishma Dev is remembering that episode also. Then we'll move on to the final verse for the day. Swanigamam apahaya mat pratignam rathamaधिकर्तुम् avapluto ratostaha धृतरथचरणो अव्ययच्चलाद्ये हरिरिवहर्तुम् इबं गतोत्तरीयाः. Who will read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, should I read?
Yes, Mataji.
Translation and purport by Prabhuji. Fulfilling my vow and sacrificing his own promise, he got down from the chariot, took up the wheel, and ran towards me hurriedly, just as a lion goes to kill an elephant. He even dropped his outer garment on the way. The Battle of Kurukshetra was fought on military principles, but at the same time in a sporting spirit, like friends fight with one another. Friend Duryodhana criticized Bhishma Dev, alleging that he was reluctant to kill Arjuna because of paternal affection. A Kshatriya cannot tolerate insults on the principle of fighting. Bhishmadeva therefore promised that the next day he would kill all 5 Pandavas with special weapons made for the purpose. Duryodhana was satisfied and he kept the arrows with him to be delivered the next day during the fight. By tricks, Arjuna took the arrows from Duryodhana, and Bhishmadev could understand that this was the trick of Lord Krishna. So he took a vow that the next day Krishna would have to take up weapons himself, otherwise his friend Arjuna would die. In the next day's fighting, Bhishmadev fought so violently that both Arjuna and Krishna were in trouble. Arjuna was almost defeated. The situation was so tense that he was about to be killed by Bhishma Dev the very next moment. At that time, Lord Krishna wanted to please his devotee Bhishma by keeping Bhishma's promise, which was more important than his own. Seemingly, he broke his own promise. He promised before the beginning of the battle of Kurukshetra that he would remain without weapon and would not use his strength for either of the parties. But to protect Arjuna, he got down from the chariot, took up the wheel of the chariot, and hurriedly rushed at Bhishma Dev in an angry mood, as a lion goes to kill an elephant. He dropped his covering cloth on the way, and out of great anger, he did not know that he had dropped it. Bhishma Dev at once gave up his weapons and stood to be killed by Krishna, his beloved Lord. The fighting of the day was thus ended at the very moment, and Arjuna was saved. Of course, there was no possibility of Arjuna's death because the Lord himself was on chariot, but because Bhishma Dev wanted to see Lord Krishna take up some weapon to save his friend, the Lord created this situation, making Arjuna's death appear imminent. He stood before Bhishma Dev to show him that his promise was fulfilled and that he had taken up the wheel. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. So, so Lord, he doesn't care, he is ready to break his own promise, but he wants to protect his devotees. That is the mood of the Lord. So, how wonderfully Srila Prabhupada given here. So, in the beginning of the Mahabharat battle, the Lord said, I'm not going to fight, neither I will not going to take any weapon. This was the promise. So then, like on the previous day, one day, Bhishma Deva was commander in chief, and this Duryodhana, he make an allegation against Bhishma Dev, and you are very merciful to Pandavas because Pandavas are your own people, so you are not fighting against them, and you don't have any intentions of killing them. So you are doing partiality to me. So though you are eating the kuru this thing, but you are favoring Pandavas, like all these sorts of words Duryodhana uses against Bhishma Pitamaha, and Bhishma becomes very angry, and he take a promise. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to kill all the 5 Pandavas. Then immediately he prays and he will prepare 5 arrows and he will keep. So Duryodhana, what he does immediately, he takes that 5 arrows. He says, "Give it to me. I will preserve it. So tomorrow morning I will give." So then Bhishma Dev gave it to him. So in the evening, what happens after the war ends? Krishna knew what had happened, and Krishna also knew about Bhishma Dev promise, and he tells Arjuna, Arjuna, go and meet Duryodhana, because one time Duryodhana was in deep trouble. That time Arjuna goes and rescues him. There was a fight, will not go in deep because for the want of time. So he was, Duryodhana was almost killed, but Arjuna goes and rescues him. That time he gave him a promise. So please, anything you want, come to me, I will give you. So then Arjuna says, now I don't require anything, but in future, if I require, I'll come to you. So Krishna reminds that incident to Arjuna, and he says, now you go to Duryodhana's camp and bring those 5 arrows. Then Arjuna goes there, goes to Duryodhana's camp, and Duryodhana asks, what do you want? If you want, this entire kingdom, I can give you. Arjuna says, no, I don't want anything. Just I want those 5 arrows. So then Duryodhana, he didn't had any chance, right? He don't have any chance. He has to give it back. So then he gave all the 5 arrows. Then that Arjuna comes and give it to Lord. So then next day again war starts. Then immediately Bhishma Dev asks Duryodhana, please get me those 5 arrows which I have preserved yesterday. Then he says, no, it is not there. Where did it go? Then Duryodhana narrates whole thing, and Bhishma Dev knows well, whose plan it is. He smiles, and he offers his obeisances to the Lord. But again he says, okay, doesn't matter. Even I have taken a promise. I'm going to kill them. So without that weapon, I'll try to do it. So he fights, very ferociously, and almost they have come to a stage, even he breaks the uh, Rath of Arjun, means one wheel was broken. Then uh, so then he was about to kill Arjuna. Then that time the Lord comes. He lifts that broken wheel in his hand, and he comes hurriedly to kill Bhishma Dev. And while doing so, his uttara means the angavastra what they wear now. So that also falls down. So he's coming hurriedly. You have seen the wonderful painting by our ISKCON devotees about this particular scene. The battlefield where the chariot is there and Bhishma Dev is ready to kill Arjuna. Then Krishna is coming with the chariot wheel. This a beautiful depiction. So then finally seeing that, Bhishma Dev offer his obeisances. Just he folds his hand and he offer his obeisances. Okay, so though Krishna, he doesn't care because he has broken his promise, right? He said he's not going to take up any weapon, but he has done it. Means he took a wheel, that is wheel of a chariot, and this is wonderful incident Bhishma Dev is recalling. And also because of this only, in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. He tells Kaunteya, I mean, ye Arjun, you declare it boldly, my devotees will never perish. So Krishna, because for the to please his devotees, he can do anything. This is one of the wonderful pastime happens on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which now Bhishma Dev is recalling, and he's fixing up his mind. Okay, so another we have another 6 verses glorifying, which comes under Bhishma's prayers. So that we will see next week. So with this, we will close our today's session. If you have any questions or any comments, please you can ask. Thank you.
Prabhuji, the way I have understood the today's verses was to show us that Lord completely protects the devotees. And one more thing is about the Lord's, there is no difference between the soul and the body in terms of Lord. Lord is complete. Is my understanding right, or is there anything beyond?
Yeah, perfect. So the second point is Sachidananda. Okay. So there is no difference between the Lord's body and Lord himself. Okay, that's as it's correct. That is Vividhyamana, the word. Then the second point is also like Lord, he don't have independence actually. In the later chapter of in Srimad Bhagavatam, it comes in the 10th canto. Lord directly says, uh, he says, Aham Bhakta Paradina, na he me aswatantra dvija. Lord says, I have control by my devotees, and I don't have independence. So, yeah, it's true. The Lord is act according to his devotees' wish. Means his pure devotees' wish he will act. In this case, like he wanted to please Bhishma, and that's the reason he lifted his weapon. Yes, Prabhu, your understanding is correct.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Prabhu,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes,
yes,
Mataji.
you carry.
Sir. Prabhuji, here Krishna gets down from the chariot. But in the end, when we see that Krishna asks Arjun to get down first from the chariot, then he gets down. So what is like how the Arjun was on the chariot this time, or the chariot was broken already, and how it was?
Yes. Yes, Mataji. That is after the completion of the war. This is still, we are in the, probably we are in the 6th or 7th, I think it's 8th or 9th day. So after the completion of war, then finally everything got over. Then Lord tells Arjuna to get down. Not now.
Yeah,
Okay.
but so Arjuna was still on the chariot right now.
Yes,
In
yes.
at this stage.
Yeah.
So that time, why Krishna asked Arjuna to get down? There was some. I have not heard about that story.
No,
Why Krishna?
that was what happens, after the completion of the war. So normally the etiquette is what the charioteer will first get down, like just in our modern this thing also, like you were a car driver, he gets down first, then he will open the door for you, then he will get down. You will get down, right? Similarly, in the chariot drivers, what they will do, they will get down first, and they will lend their hand, and with that support, the person who is sitting on chariot, he will get down. So this was the etiquette, and everything every day Krishna used to follow that. But after the completion of the war, so what happens is Arjuna expecting same thing. Krishna will get down first, then he will lend his hand to me, then with his support I will get down. But Krishna says, Arjun, you get down. So, but Arjun, I know that Arjun becomes, little angry. Why you are saying that to me? But anyway, he didn't had any choice. He has to get down. Then he gets down. Then Lord gets down also. Then immediately the chariot is burnt into ashes. The Acharya's comment says, because there are so many powerful weapons which was used against Arjun and his chariot, and only because of the Krishna, all those weapons were holding. They were not operational. But once the Lord gets down, then immediately, the chariots start burning. This is the understanding. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that okay, Mataji?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Yes, Sushil Prabhu.
Prabhu, in 33, you said that the Bhishma was connected in Vibhatsras because he was fighting against all these. And then in the next he was in a Dasras. So it can be, I can understand at different times you are in different rasas.
Mainly, Prabhu, he is in servitorship. He is in Dasya Rasa, and at the same time, since he is fighting against Lord, he is in chivalry.
Oh.
Yeah, the chivalry for only for that particular moment when he is doing the fighting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, thank you so much. Excellent, excellent lecture. Thank you so much. Anybody, any other question? Doesn't look like, Prabhu. So,
Hare Krishna.
many thanks, Prabhu. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Thanks
you.
a lot, Subal Prabhu.
Even Mayuri is joined, Prabhu.
Yeah. So she is joined from there now.
Hare Krishna, Mayuri, how are you?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I'm good. How are you, Prabhu?
Good, good. So how is UK?
It's nice. My university classes have just started. It's been 2 weeks now, so getting used to the place now.
Okay, Jai.
I
Okay.
request your blessings, Prabhu. I mean, there's not a lot of devotee association as much as there was in Dubai, so I'm just trying my best just to continue whatever we've been doing in Dubai. Yeah.
Okay. So surely we'll pray for you. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nitai go Premanande Hari Hari Bo.
Hari. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Super Prabhu, can you end the session?
Yes, Prabhu, I'll do. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare